this afternoon Eugene Ellis from the Black and Asian Therapist Network, who will be talking to us about the work of BAATN and how perhaps you might be able to get involved. Eugene, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good.
Very well.
Good. And then we've actually got sun today, so that's a good sign.
Yeah, 2 days in a row. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Now, I'd just like to for you to really to introduce yourself and talk about who you are a little bit and how BAATN came into being and what BAATN actually does.
Okay, yeah. I'm the founder of the Black and Asian Therapist Network. I'm also a psychotherapist, and I've been a psychotherapist for about 12 years. And the main work I do is with children and young people and families. And the network has been around for about 10, 11 years. It's a network of psychotherapists and counsellors in the UK. And most of the members really want to inspire people of African, Asian and Caribbean heritage to engage proactively and consciously in their psychological lives. We also want to promote high quality therapy from a African, Asian and Caribbean perspective. We have quite a large directory of counsellors in the UK who are offering their services. And we're also keen to support new therapists into the profession. I mean, I think bringing new people in and making them part of the mental health care in this country, I think is a really important thing that we need to spend time doing.
Yes, we do. Particularly, I'd like to bring in here that the statistics aren't hardly brilliant. I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Eugene, but I believe it's Black and Asian patients, mental health patients, are 3 to 4 times more likely to be sectioned under the Mental Health Act. And the reason why is spurious. It's just amazing. Let's say, for example, you have a woman from Afro-Caribbean or African descent, and she talks loudly and she waves her hands around and she believes that, her mother in the spirit life comes back and talks to her. And
Yeah.
she's crazy.
Yeah.
Or if you're perhaps you're of Asian descent and you believe in reincarnation, you've got to be off your head to believe something like that in certain circles, I believe. And it's important, but really important, that we have therapists and counselors that look like us, that
Yes.
think like us, so that we're not being needlessly sectioned and put through all kinds of hell because people simply are not on the same wavelength. They're not on the same page and don't understand where we're coming from.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think the inequality of access for Black and minority ethnic communities is really well documented, and the reality is that the services are pretty poor, and there's a kind of an insensitivity really to the mental health issues of Black people, really. And I don't think certainly the lives of the internal lives, the internal world of BME people isn't really looked at that much. I think there's an assumption that the internal world is kind of like anyone else who doesn't suffer from racism or doesn't have to go through those hoops. So, when they look at people's behavior, and mental health really is about behavior, really, isn't it? I mean, there's nothing, you can't really sort of take a map of the brain and see mental health issue in there. It's kind of a bunch of behaviors. And if they don't understand those behaviors, where they're coming from, that behind them there is actually hurt and pain, you're going to see the behaviors in a particular way and respond to them in a particular way. It's not a good picture out there, and it is an enduring problem.
Yes, it is. And we're going to take a little bit of a break here and let people digest that and listen to a bit of music. And when we come back, we're going to expand on that theme a little bit and start to move into how the ways that BAATN addresses some of these issues. Okay, so hang on for a moment. We're back with Eugene Ellis from the Black and Asian Therapist Network, and he's going to continue to tell us about the activities of BAATN and how it supports both Black and Asian psychotherapists and counselors, but also how it works to support the wider community. And Eugene, we've been challenged by some of our members at our conference this year that we need to get a little bit more politically active as services are once again being decimated.
Yes, yes, they are. And obviously the government are putting the squeeze on, and I think it's counselling services throughout the UK really are getting the brunt of it really, and I think specifically those kind of small services that get allocated towards particular groups, so African, Asian, Caribbean groups are feeling the brunt of that at the moment. Yeah, yeah. But BAATN itself, there is a focus on the therapists who work in the profession. And I remember when I started this network a number of years ago, I was thinking, well, I had no idea how many Black or Asian counsellors there were really in the country, and I still don't really know.
Yeah, quite invisible.
Yeah, we're kind of an invisible group, and I thought, maybe I could rally maybe 100 people together. I mean, at that time, I knew another two or three Black therapists, and then I kind of started things going, and I invited people to sort of join the network, and then it got to 100 and 2, 3, 4, and now we're up to 1,000, which is pretty amazing. And then people are still saying, "I've never heard of you."
Yeah.
How come I haven't heard of you in the last 10 years? So I know there's a lot more out there. So, but when we do come together, we come together and we gather in various different ways, as therapists, as counsellors, to help each other really in our practice. Also to develop, the theory base that we're all going to be working with.
Right.
There are the conferences as well that happen every year, which are quite big events, 90 people or so, who was all psychotherapists getting together and really thinking about these issues.
And that was quite amazing. The energy after a day of that just leaves you on such a high. I was buzzing for hours after I got home after the conference this year.
Yeah, those conferences are always great because there are all these people who are really working on their, in their internal world, their psychological lives, and also doing things in the community, and being political and active out there. So, it's a really good feeling when you come back from one of those events and you kind of think, yeah, I got a bit more energy to do a bit more work, because it is hard work.
Absolutely. But you're so energized and so enthusiastic, and there's so much support out there. That's the great thing about it, is that we're supporting each other. I mean, there are not just the annual conference, but various workshops and training events that go on, and the program that I'm particularly interested in and is closest to me is the Each One Teach One mentoring program, which I have to say developed out of my own less than sterling experience as studying psychotherapy. Or as I like to put it, I was handed a bunch of lemons and I was able to make lemonade for other people out of it.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
But the first time that I attended 6 years ago, a conference, BAATN annual conference, and I'm convinced to this day that the person who told me about it was an angel, because I never saw the man again after he told me about the conference.
Right.
Never saw him again. So I'm convinced that was an angel sent to me, because I was ready to drop out at my course at the end of the course,
right,
because of my experiences. And am I crazy? Am I experiencing? Are these people really being racist, or am I imagining things? I thought I was losing my mind. And so to go to BAATN and to hear that other people were having this experience. People who had been in the profession for 20, 30 years, and they were nodding their heads, yup, got that, plop that. And I said, no, enough of this. We need to do something about this and not look to somebody else to do it for us. And that's how Each One Teach One came into being. I mean, you and a couple of other people answered the call, and, I thank God for that, because I can see over the 6 years how it has really done something, not just for the mentors, but for the mentees as well. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that, but then I'm going to put out there that if there are psychotherapists and counselors of Black and Asian or Caribbean, African descent, who would like to give back to their communities, that this would be a good way to do that, is let others coming behind benefit from your experience. And we'll talk a bit more about that after a little bit more music. So just hang in there, and we're going to listen to some Junior English and Don't Mean a Thing. And you were listening to Junior English and Don't Mean a Thing. All of those holidays were stuck on top of pagan holidays, so they really don't mean a thing unless we give them meaning. But we're going to turn from that, and we're going to go back to our guest, Eugene Ellis from the Black and Asian Therapist Network, who has been talking to us about the work of BAATN and how they support, how BAATN supports Black and Asian psychotherapists and counselors, as well as supporting students who are studying psychotherapy and counseling, and the wider community as well, by supporting them, by educating them as to the benefits of having an objective and listening ear. Now, Eugene, we kind of started our story started because of my call 6 years ago to set up the Each One Teach One mentoring program as a result of my own experiences. And just to give you a brief background as to what Each One Teach One does, it's not supervision, clinical supervision. It's not personal therapy, which therapists are required to have, at least when I was training, and I think it's becoming the standard now. But it's someone who is more experienced in the ins and outs of training, lending their ears and their experience to those coming along behind them. So it's maybe elements of those other things, but it's a very narrow focus in terms of being able to emotionally navigate their courses.
Yes, yes. I mean, your experience was pretty much the same as my experience. And a number of years ago, we put together some gatherings for students, to support students. It was something I thought, well, let's just do that. And what came out of that was that there were lots of students, Black students, Asian students, who were really struggling on their course. And because they were like the only Asian or the only Black person, or maybe there's one or two of them there, they just thought it was just like a one-off experience or something that they were experiencing. And so it was kind of like a very isolating event, really, for them. Absolutely. But when they all came together, they all realized that actually this isn't really just them.
Yes.
There's something going on here. There's something more going on. And without, actually, literally everyone in the student group had some experience where they either felt they weren't seen in the ways that they wanted to be seen. There was often
listened to.
Certainly wasn't listened to. If they talk about their experience of being a Black person, they'd be met with silence. And really, what seemed to be emerging was that the actual training of counselors and psychotherapists, there was something endemic in that place. And excuse me. So a lot of the trainees were kind of frustrated, and then that led to this, being disillusioned, and then there was a disengagement, that they'd drop out. They'd actually drop out of the counselling.
Yeah, very high attrition rate in that respect.
Absolutely. There are plenty of students starting, but they just don't get through, and they just get frustrated. And I don't think that the trainings are just not flexible enough to meet them where they are emotionally.
No.
And theoretically.
Yeah, I mean, and that's been largely part of the problem.
Experiences. Yeah. And that sort of echoes into counselling generally. You go to a GP and you get referred to a counsellor, or something happens, and so the whole system really is not really geared up. It's geared up for white issues,
but in relation to
but not Black issues, and that they are very different, and there's a different feeling to them, different tone. So and then you you bravely stood up and said, yes, let's do this mentoring program. I said, yep, because I knew this would be, really something that people would really go for. And then we started it, didn't we, together with a few others.
Yeah, and I mean, and it wasn't
5 years ago.
It wasn't all doom and gloom. I mean, remember the early days? All of our students were in London, and all of them, the mentors were in Scotland or Wales or
Yeah.
in Ireland someplace. It was madness getting it set up. But,
Yeah.
6 years later, I mean, we've had about 24, 25 students that actually applied to the program. A few of them didn't actually follow through. But I mean, we went from hardly any students and lots of mentors to lots of students and not enough mentors now. And that's something where you, my listeners, might be able to help. And I know we're coming up to a commercial break in just a few moments, and I don't want to leave this just yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a little bit of music to take us into the break. And then we'll talk about how people can get involved in Each One Teach One or other programs and projects that BAATN is working on. So hold on for a few moments and we'll be right back. We have a little bit more music and a little bit more talk from my guest caller today, Eugene Ellis from the Black and Asian Therapist Network. And in the last bit of our talk, we're going to be looking at the mentoring program, Each One Teach One, and also tell people how, listening out there, how they might be able to participate in some of the programs that BAATN offers, particularly if they're qualified and practicing, or maybe not practicing, but certainly qualified psychotherapists and counselors from the Black and Asian community, Afro-Caribbean community. So, Eugene, talk us through it. I mean, we can both talk about this, but I don't want to sound like I'm blowing my own horn. So,
well,
teach one a little bit for me.
Yeah, well, okay,
Lady Mystery. How it works.
Yeah, I mean, it works by therapists and counselors who, as you said, are practicing. They've been through the training. They've got their qualification. Going one-to-one, being one-to-one with a student who's going through the same process, and then so the matches are made. They start because normally the therapy programs start around September, October, and then the matches are made around then, and normally trainings sort of end around June, July. So right through that period of time, they'll meet monthly or maybe fortnightly on the phone, by Skype, face-to-face. And the student will have an opportunity to talk about what's going on in the training, any issues they're having. The mentor can kind of say, yeah, I've been there. I know what's happening. This is what's happening. This is what you need to do. This is maybe what you need to read. And kind of just give students a bit of a helping hand through that process. And really, we want to address the dropout rate through this mentoring program, so that there's more therapists who are contributing to the therapy profession and the mental health of the UK all in all. So that's how the program runs.
And I mean, it started from very, very humble beginnings, where there were four of us that came together to form the team to administer the program, and it was a kind of a haphazard affair. We're getting
yeah, we're all volunteers.
It was new. I mean, we had some systems in place, some basic systems in place, but it's grown organically, hasn't it? As we've learned more and experienced more and figured out better or best practice with regard to procedural kinds of things. So it's evolving still, but the baby has definitely learned to walk now.
Absolutely, yeah. And we were all volunteers, very keen to get on with it. And every time we spoke to someone about it, they were very excited about it. So it's quite easy to keep going, wasn't it, really?
It is. And this is where we try to encourage other people to participate in the program, whether it be as qualified therapists and counselors who could be mentors. They may be offering a workshop or some kind of training that could be, if they're a member of BAATN, can be put on the website so it's reached by a wider audience. There,
and also there might be some people who are listening to this who aren't really counselors or psychotherapists at all, but they're kind of thinking about it. They're thinking about, well, maybe I could train, but I'm not sure because I don't know what it's like. But to encourage them to maybe look into it, and if they are thinking of training, there is support out there for them if they want to do that.
Yes, that's right. And you can get some more basic information about BAATN as well as the Each One Teach One mentoring program by going to BAATN's website. That's www.B for boy, AAT for Tom, N for Nancy, .org.uk. And you can, as I say, get information about BAATN's programs in a more general way, or if you're particularly interested in the mentoring program, you can go to the page for Each One Teach One and find out more, and even put in an application online to be a mentor, or if you're a student or thinking about studying, to be a mentee.
And this year we've had some funding, but this year we want to really fund it properly and maybe get more students into the program. So we're fundraising this year, and we'll do a crowdfunding campaign, which hopefully will go out fairly soon, maybe in the next month or so. And so if people want to contribute to that, that would be very, very welcome.
Yes, and again, you'll be able to get more information about that on the website?
Yep.
Okay.
And if people want to email me just to sort of register their interest, so when the campaign goes live, they could check it out. I'm happy for that to happen. So my email address is eugene@baatn.org.uk.
Okay. Now we're going to let people digest that a little bit and have a little bit more music, and then we'll kind of wrap things up.
Okay.
All right. Stepping into Zion with Kwame Bediako from Ghana. And we're back with my guest, Eugene Ellis. I said we're going to just wrap things up here and say our final farewells. Is there any other information you'd like to pass along to my listeners today before we sign off?
Oh, right. Yeah, I mean, we've had some, it's been a really great thing for me personally to be part of this network. I've got so much back from it as a therapist. And I mean, the hope is that it really builds into something that can sort of plug in directly into the mental health system, really, in some way, the wider mental health system. So, I mean, we're kind of slowly plodding along and slow and steady,
Yes.
slow and steady,
Slow
as you
and
say.
steady does it.
Yeah.
It really does. But I think it's vital in terms of the wider community that we make our voices heard and make our perspective well known, because, as I said, as we started at the beginning of this conversation, so many people are being wrongly diagnosed, unfairly diagnosed, and having their lives turned absolutely upside down, being slapped with labels that they don't deserve. There was a famous case years ago in the U.S. about that. This young Hispanic man who had just come over from Puerto Rico was diagnosed as being autistic or being learning disabled. His problem wasn't being learning disabled. It was about not being taught English or not speaking English. He became a PhD.
Yeah. Yeah.
But mislabeling, misunderstanding, not picking up on cultural clues that are unspoken perhaps and are just totally missed by the wider society. And this is why it's necessary that we have to work on developing a pool of people that look like us and sound like us and understand the world like us.
Yes, and I think and I have a lot of hope about that. And also, if anyone's going to do it, really, if any group is going to do it, going to really get behind, really understand what's happening when people go through, when people, people of color actually go through the world, race impacts them, their identity, who they are, every aspect of them.
Sure.
Now, once that gets, if anyone's going to get it, really, it should be the psychotherapy profession. It should be the therapy and counseling profession. They should be really there doing it because they're doing it in other areas.
Right.
And so I kind of have a bit of hope that that's possible. And I mean, that's why I became a psychotherapist, really, to kind of further that, not just for our own people, really, but to also, have our voice be heard more wide in the more wider mental health profession.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to have to leave it there, but it's been brilliant talking to you. It's good to catch up on air.
Yeah, well,
I get to gossip with my friends on air.
Yeah, well, it's good. It's good to hear you in this way, Lady Mystery, I have to say.
Yeah, but thank you so much, Eugene.
Yeah.
And if you would like more information, you can always reach me here at the studio on 07398 940 487 to get more information about how you might be able to participate in BAATN's programs, or you may have something else to offer the BAATN that could be put forward to the wider community. Thanks again, Eugene. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and we will be catching up soon, I'm sure.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.